Welcome to Side Hustle Rules Tuesday night edition. It's not something that I do. I almost said it's not something I do very often, but the truth is, it's not something I've ever done before. I've got over 400 videos that I produce between over 50 TV and now Side Hustle Rules. And this is my first time going live in the evening. I've gone live during the day a few times, but I thought I would go ahead and get this message out because I think it's an important message. I know it's an important message. And it might even be a sad message because it is a sad day in weight loss land. Jenny Craig is out of business. Jenny Craig is gone. They are no more. And it is a sad day. And I don't make it seems like I'm making light of this, but you know what? I'm really not. I mean, I'm aware that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of folks who are out of work right now. 500 franchisees who counted on Jenny Craig to be around, who counted on management to keep the company rolling and keep the company floating along. Yeah, they counted on this company, man. They counted on Jenny Craig's management for their livelihood. And now these guys are out of work. They're out of business. And you know what? I'm not making light of it. I do think it's a sad day. It's a very sad day in weight loss land when a company closes in any industry. I started my first chain when I started my first magazine, my business to business magazine, and I go out, I meet business owners, I talk to them, and I get all excited with them. And then I'd see 6 months, a year go by, and they're out of business. And you don't think I was sad over that? I'm sad over this. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And you see all this information, all these articles about Jenny Craig and why they went out of business. And you know what? Yeah, I know they went out. This isn't an autopsy. This is what I'm saying to you, though, is some lessons that I think if you are self-employed, if you are an entrepreneur, if you're looking to be self-employed, you know what? This is a good lesson. Two things that are coming out of this for me anyway. Number one is the debt load. 250 million, almost a quarter billion dollars, 243 million, I think it was. That's a huge amount of debt. They tried to sell the company, this HIG, I think it was HIG, what is it? Capital. HIG Capital tried to sell the company, wasn't able to sell it. So what did they do? They ended up, hey, let's going to shutter this place down. We're going to close it down. We're going to give the employees a little bit of money, and that's about it. They're out. They're gone. So too much debt. They drowned in debt for whatever reason. Again, this isn't an autopsy, so I am not going to go into details or deep into the debt load. All I know is they filed Chapter 7 so they can sell off all assets that they have left with the Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So they filed it. But here's the thing. It was just, 2 weeks ago when this was put up. Jenny Craig is embarking on the next phase of our business to evolve with the changing landscape of today's consumers. Like many other companies, we're currently transitioning from a brick and mortar retail business to a customer-friendly e-commerce driven model. How noble that they were looking to change and they were trying to sell the company at the same time. And I think they're going back and forth, trying to figure out what they're going to do. And they end up doing nothing but filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. They put this stuff out there 2 weeks ago, probably gave a lot of people some hope, at least their employees anyway, their franchisees anyway, but they ended up going out of business. Now there's a little bit of stuff I'll get into with Jenny Craig. And here's one of the things that they didn't do. They weren't on top of what the competition was doing. They didn't look at the future and say, the future isn't so bright in this area. We're going to have to pivot. We're going to have to change. We're going to have to go in another direction. And this is what this says. Here, it says from this article I excerpted, it says, in the latest sign of major changes in the weight loss industry brought on by popular new prescription diabetes drugs such as Wegovy, Ozempic, and Rybelsus that can also be used to help people lose weight. So you've got competition from these new drugs, and folks, you know what? They want to lose weight. They're in a hurry to do it. So what do? They take a drug instead of going to a Jenny Craig, one of their 500 locations in the U.S. and Canada, 600 worldwide, by the way. So the drugs came out. The drugs were coming. The drugs entered into the marketplace and really affected their future. And they didn't pivot, they didn't change, unlike their competitor, Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers, for example, got into the prescription weight loss drug business, and they got into it by buying a company called Sequence. And it says here, if you look at the second sentence here, a telehealth subscription service that connects patients with doctors who can prescribe weight loss and diabetes drugs. So at least WW Internationals are called now. Where the hell they got this name from? I have no idea. But obviously it's from Weight Watchers, but I would have come up with a better name if I was going to change it at all. But regardless, at least they were looking ahead. At least they were looking to the future. At least they made a move to try to hopefully steer themselves away from this storm that just is engulfing that industry, the weight loss and nutrition industry. They at least did that much. So the lessons that we have here, the two lessons that I wanted to stress here. Number one is debt. Watch your debt. Now, I understand small business owner, man, you're in business and you just put all this money in there and you just got to keep putting more and more and more into it because you believe so much in your business. And you know what? I get it. I understand it. I've been there. You do it, but don't do it to the point where you're sacrificing everything and you're putting in so much debt. And I don't care if you're starting a little side hustle, you got a full-time business, you got to watch that debt. The second thing is do what? And I'm going to go back to this panel here. Do what WW International did. Look at other products that you can introduce. Now, I'm not talking that you got to go out and spend. I'm not suggesting $106 million. I'm not saying that's what WW spent to buy that company Sequence. I'm not talking about huge amounts of money. I'm just saying look at your product line. Look at it. Examine it. Is the product line that you have, is this the product line that's going to get you through the economic storms, through the changes of the disruption in the marketplace? I believe this. I believe you focus on one product, you build that, you generate enough revenue from that product. You make sure it's profitable. And at the same time, you're always keeping an eye out to other products. Where you could even say a product extension. A product extension would be where you have one product and you say, how can I take this particular product and do something else with it? Create another product, a similar product, where a product that at least you borrow the name, that you both have the same types of name. There's an extension we call a brand extension. So I'm saying to you, look at the future, plan ahead, and expand that product line when the time is right. But don't sit back. I've had partners, one in particular, I had a partner who, when we had that, I had my first business to business magazine, and I kept saying to him, you know what we got to do? We've got to look at the business that we have, and we've got to expand this business, because this one magazine is not going to be enough to sustain us. And in my opinion, it's not enough to get me where I wanted to be, in a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road. That one business to business magazine didn't generate enough money for me. I fought by this guy every step of the way. We had arguments over it, but eventually what we did is he succumbed. He believed that, yeah, let's expand. We expanded 1, 2, 3. We expanded into a chain of business to business magazines. So we didn't rely on a single market. And I think that's the point here, is don't rely on a single product. Don't rely on a single market. 2 bits of advice: debt, keep it low, and don't rely on your market, on a single market. But at the same time, the real lesson here is keep your eye on the ball, keep your eye on the prize. Look at what other folks are doing. Pay attention. I read all the time. I'm on the internet all the time. I'm seeing where this market's going. I see where YouTube's going. I see where other social media platforms are going. I'm always looking ahead to the future, and I'm always planning. And that's what I would suggest that you do as well. So that's what I've got for you. That's my advice regarding this very sad day in weight loss land. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to dip into my mailbag, and I've got this comment from a viewer, and I'm going to pull it up here. Her name is Red Pill, and they were commenting on this video I did called Earn More Money, Turn Your Decades of Experience into a Profitable Side Hustle. And Red Pill says, as you can see, have you ever tried to start a business during a recession? I wish you well. Well, red pill, yeah, I did start a business during a recession. I did start a business during a bad economic time. I've had other businesses that I launched that also had to ride those waves, those economic waves that could have capsized us and drowned us, but we kept going. And I believe this. I believe if you've got a good business plan, I've seen this. If you've got a good business plan, you know what? Yeah, you can get through those rough economic times. But here's some reasons why starting a business during a recession is a good idea. Number one, there are better credit options. When you start a business and if you have to borrow, there are other folks who aren't borrowing because other business owners have got their head in the sand and they don't want to do anything. So you're going to get better terms. Also, suppliers. I found this to be so true. Suppliers will give you better terms, but they'll also cut their prices because they know no one else is buying that product. Yeah, I'll start a business during a recession if I'm going to get better terms, lower prices, less competitors. Less competitors. Think about it. Less competitors. Let me pull you back up here, my brother. Well, that's the wrong one, right? We're going to say, have you ever tried to start a business during a recession? I wish you well. You know what? Yeah, I wish you well, brother, because I'm going to tell you this, Red Pill. One thing that I never saw, I couldn't see, maybe you can't see, or maybe you do, is when you're also starting a business during a recession, companies are laying off. You see this right now going on with the tech industry and other industries now, laying off folks. You know what? Some of those folks are good folks, and some of those people can help you to build your business. And what I found during a recession in my first business, when it was rough, and we actually had the first Gulf War when everybody else had their head in the sands, and I was scared to death, by the way, because I didn't know what was going to happen if with everybody saying, "Hey, don't start a business. You're starting it at the wrong time." But you know what happened? I got two great employees who came over, and we hired them. I hired them, and they were great, and they helped me build that business. And both of them went on to become managers, and one of them went on to then, believe a national auto magazine because they believed in my business, and I hired them. So when I go back here to Red Pill, have you ever tried to start a business during a recession? Yeah, man. I wish you well, but you know what? I wish you would consider starting a business. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but there's a lot of reasons why. And let me tell you something here. What I know is this, and I'm going to read this to you off this list I've got. Microsoft was started during a recession. Electronic Arts, iRobot, Airbnb, Slack, WhatsApp, Square, Uber, Instagram, Pinterest. They were all started during a recession. So whatever your excuses that people out there are going to have, whether it's Red Pill or whoever else, whatever excuses you got, there are companies who have done it. There are a lot of other companies who've done it. If you've got a good plan, because I found the best time to start a business is when other folks won't or can't. Those are good times to start a business. Think about that for a second. One last thing, I'm going to give you the quote of the week. Let me pull it up here and hopefully I'll click on the right panel. Here's a great quote. My favorite quote of this week is: "The self-employed are the only people I know who will work 80 hours per week to avoid working 40 hours for someone else." This is Joe Chatham, founder and managing partner of USA 500 Clubs. And how true is that? Let me tell you something. If you're trying to decide if you want to start a business, you're not sure. You know what? Think about that. Would you rather work for somebody else at 40 hours a week, somebody else who can't carry your water bottle, someone else who's going to be telling you what to do and you know damn well they don't know what the heck they're talking about? Would you rather work for them for 40 hours a week? What options? An option is to work for yourself and build your business up and work 40 hours a week. I've always put in all that time, and others have put in a lot more time than me. I can tell you that. My friends, I can tell you that a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs, they put that time in and they reap the reward, but they love what they do. And it's not work when you're working 80 hours a week. The only thing I would disagree with Chatham on is when he says you're working 80 hours a week. You know what? And he would agree with this too, by the way, I'm sure. It's not really work because you love what you're doing. So, one more thing, if you are inclined to start a business and you're not sure how to get it off the ground, you want to start a side hustle or full-time gig, I do have my brand new side hustle starter kit. It's available in video. It's a video edition. So it's different than my PNG version where you read a couple sheets of paper and it was good. It was, in my opinion, it was really good advice. But this Side Hustle Starter Kit video edition goes a lot further. I walk you through the 8 steps of starting a business from scratch. I literally walk you through it. I go through 8 videos. I tell you about each step, why it's important. I give you examples. I also give you my advice because what this 8 steps, this isn't some textbook stuff that you maybe you're going to see somewhere like in a an educational institution, which I don't think you're going to see it because I'm giving you the advice, stuff that I went through, stuff I saw, stuff that I know can work if you put the effort into it. And that's the key, put the effort into it. So that is all that I have for you. And I am looking here because I am going to close out, but I wish you well. I want to thank you for watching this edition, this Tuesday night edition. I also want you to do one more thing. Think about those people at Jenny Craig, those 500 franchisees and their employees who no longer have a job. You know what? Buy a franchise, not such a bad idea. But, if you're relying on some corporate office to control your destiny, whether it's you're walking in for that salary or that paycheck, or you're working for a franchise, or, start a business, consider starting a side hustle, consider starting a full-time business, work your rear end off to make it a success, work that 80 hours a week. Well, that's all I got for you, my friends. As I always say, have a great day, everybody. Come on.